Hello everybody, this is Berlinologist. I'm back again, and I have to say it's been a while. I was watching one of my videos to see how many views I've got on my channel, which is quite modest really, because I've only got like 17 subscribers, and I'm forever grateful to those 17 subscribers. But it's been a while since I posted a video, because I think the last one was in February, and that's ages ago. You know, I can't believe how much time has passed by since that time. So my sincere apologies for those that are waiting for new videos, but I thought I'd take the opportunity to do a new video because during April, I think about a week in April, we went to Berlin and we did a lot of filming. We filmed at the Brandenburg Gate. We filmed at the Reichstag. We filmed at the Victory Column. We filmed at Vossstrasse, where the Hitler Chancellery used to be. We filmed at the Hitler Bunker. We filmed at the Jewish War Memorial. We filmed at Karl Marx. We filmed at Alexanderplatz, and I think we filmed at the Park Inn Hotel. I'm not sure 100%. You know, I'd have to view, but because John's busy, because he's got to take care of his dad, and he's got some things that he's got to get on with, so we haven't had the chance to review, to watch, to edit the footage that we shot in Berlin, and consequently nothing has been released. I think one of the issues that we had is with the microphone, because as we were recording, it tended to distort, and I think the setting of the microphone wasn't as we wanted it. And of course you've got the Foley, of course, you know, because you've got cars passing by and people passing by and all that kind of noise. So that has to be filtered out, and the distortion has to be reduced in such a way that, you know, you can actually hear what I'm saying without it causing any irritation to any of the viewers. So that is to come. We also want to go to Highgate to shoot Karl Marx at his grave, and in Soho it was one of the homes that he lived in with his family. There's a blue plaque. I think they got the dates wrong as to where he lived there at that time, and he's got his friend Engels, who is also, I think he wasn't buried. I'm not sure if he was actually buried in Highgate. I'm not 100% on that. So, but yeah, we're definitely going to do Karl Marx, because we did Karl Marx naturally in Berlin. That was one of the things that we really wanted to do, and I'm glad we've gone and done it. So I've got some books here that I'd like to show you, because each one naturally tells its own story. If I pick these ones up. Okay, so this one is John F. Kennedy in Berlin. Now, this is a very pivotal moment in Berlin and German and European history, and perhaps even the world history. There's a picture of John F. Kennedy, and this is like mania that you probably only few politicians would ever get, or say politicians, but certainly presidents and prime ministers will ever get to this level, as compared to the level of John F. Kennedy. And tragically, after he passed away, the United States had to recover because of the shock of his assassination, and the timing couldn't have been better, because in 1964 the Beatles arrived in the United States and they performed on the Ed Sullivan Show, and the rest is history. But prior to that, we had another star, because you'd have to call him a star, is John F. Kennedy. And in Berlin, so John F. Kennedy, very charismatic, very well spoken, came from a well-to-do family, gave great speeches. You look at all the speeches that he's given; they're all on YouTube. You know, you could get recordings of his speeches on CD or on vinyl. How many recordings would you actually get of his speeches on vinyl or on CD by any of the other presidents of the United States? Very few and far between. I've been looking. I've got 2 by Ronald Reagan, but they're not of, you know, of his speeches. Here you've got Willy Brandt, who was the mayor of Berlin at the time, and you've got Adenauer, who was the Chancellor of Germany at the time. And then you've got his 2 bodyguards. Now, I know there's a chap called Vince Palamara, who is the expert authority on the Secret Servicemen, and he could tell me, he would be able to tell me who these bodyguards are, the Secret Servicemen are. But this is an extraordinary document of somebody, a very charismatic leader of the United States and of the free world, and he made his that famous "Ich bin ein Berliner" speech, which is quite remarkable, and it's gone down in the annals of history as one of the greatest. There's a great photo. Look at that! Look at that photo. It's absolutely fabulous. It really captures history in the making at that time, and this was in 1963. There's another one. Superb. And then let's see. Now this is at the Brandenburg Gate, and you can see there are drapes between the columns of the pillars of the so John F. Kennedy couldn't see into East Germany or East Berlin. So I think that's very, very unique photograph of that time, of that period. And when Ronald Reagan gave that famous speech, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, Mr. Gorbachev, open the gate, there was none of that. You know, there wasn't any of that at all. Here's another one giving his speech. So yeah, unfortunately, I ordered another book on John F. Kennedy in Berlin, and that book never arrived. So I don't know what happened to it. I suspect it might have got stolen, or they didn't send it. Well, I don't know, but it does make you sort of think and put you off a little bit when you order books, and they don't, they don't get posted. So anyway, Kennedy in Berlin, highly recommended if you're into John F. Kennedy and you're into Berlin history. Okay, so I then here we are. So I think I'll show this one. This one, Geschichte mit Margot Honecker. Margot Honecker was married to Erich Honecker, who was the leader of the GDR, or the Deutsche Demokratische Republik, or East Germany as we now call it, or as it's often called. And she was an ardent socialist. She believed in the country of East Germany. And this book is an interviews book. I've just only recently, this is my latest edition. This is the one I only just got a few days ago. and it's quite pivotal because when Erich Honecker, he left East Germany after the fall of the Berlin Wall, and he then went to Russia, and but then he came back to Germany, and of course he had to face up to the victor's justice, where he was he had to go to court, and I think he was convicted. I can't remember exactly what the conviction was, but they eventually released him because he had terminal cancer, and he and Margot went to Chile, where they lived in exile, because their daughter married a Chilean man. So she played a pivotal role in her husband's career, and pretty much worked behind the scenes in the old Deutsche Demokratische Republik. Now she's going to give her opinion as to what happened, how it happened, when it happened, where it happened, and so on and so forth, in this book, which is effectively an interview. You know, you get the person asking the questions, and then she would respond to them, and everything that she says gets transcribed into book form. So I haven't read this book yet because I have a stack of other books that I've got to get through. But this is a book I'm looking forward to, because it's the part of the history that you don't often see, when women that are married to famous men or infamous men, or men that have a very high political position within a party. So in their case it's the SED. You would get to see a side of history that otherwise would be hidden, or at least you'd have to be able to get in a position where you can look for the information, because it is out there somewhere. It's just that you have to look for it. So anyway, Margot Honecker. Looking forward to reading this book. Okay, so when I went to Berlin, I was keen on getting some books. I wanted to get some books on Berlin. So I hired a bike. You can hire bikes, and it was at the television tower. It's a famous landmark in Berlin. It's on Alexanderplatz, and I cycled all the way down towards this famous university, which is opposite where they did the book burning before World War II. There's a memorial. So if you ever go to Berlin, you will see there's a hole in the ground, and they've got bookshelves, but they're all empty. So that sort of is a kind of a representation of the event of what occurred at that time. And opposite there, they had a university, and in front of the university are stalls. You could buy albums there, you could buy books there, and other trinkets, I suspect. And there were albums there, but they looked as though they were in the sun for a long time. So they looked as though they had faded a bit. So I didn't pick any albums, and I collect albums, but I didn't buy any. But I did find this book. This is Erich Mielke. He was the head of the Stasi in East Germany. And you want to see, look at that book. Look at that. How thick that book is. All in German. And I tried to read some of it, and it was really hard going. I really sort of struggled a bit. I mean, this would take an age. It'd probably take maybe 2 months to get through this book, I suspect. And I might not understand every word. In fact, I know for sure I wouldn't understand every word, but if I get to understand 50% of it, I've done pretty well. I got this for €10. It was going for 24, and it's got a CD in the back of the book. So you can see the CD, and this is a very important character. I think he was convicted of murder because in the 30s or in the early 30s there was a riot, and one of their opponents that was against the Communist Party got shot, killed, and they suspect it was Erich Mielke, and but he eventually went on to become the head of the Stasi, and he was very very particular in his wants and needs. For example, the food on his plate had to be arranged in such a way that it always appeared the same way. So when Erich Mielke had his meal, everything was as it had to be, as it appeared on the plate. You know what I mean? It's almost like they had to take a photograph to make sure that when they put the food on the plate, it would appear the same way every time. So he was very particular in everything that he did. And the other thing, he wasn't a womanizer. He was very faithful to his wife. He liked football matches. He would go to football matches, which is a whole nother story there. I mean, I can't go into it really because I haven't looked into it too much. But football played a very important role within the German Democratic Republic. And also he liked to hunt, so he'd go on a hunt and he'd do a lot of hunting. Now I have heard, I don't know if this is a fact, I don't know if it is allied to Erich Mielke, but what they would do was if he shot like a deer or a boar, if he missed, somebody else would fire, you know, the boar or the wild boar or the deer, to give the impression that Erich Mielke actually shot him when he missed. You know, all those kind of shenanigans that were sort of going on at the time. Now, again, I'm not 100% sure. I'm sure it will say it in this book. But after the fall of the Berlin Wall, he appeared in court. I think he was given maybe 6 years. I'm not sure if he did them all, because by then he was quite an elderly man. But he was, I believe, very, very bitter in his old age, because, you know, a man with such immense power all of a sudden is taken away from him. And the enemy, because he considered West Germany the enemy, were able to reduce his status, as it were, because of his power. So he was left with none, and he lived the last years of his life on a very modest pension. So I would like to know more about Erich Mielke, and this is the side of German history which is it's not as publicised as, say, the Nazi era. I mean, you could get hundreds of books on Hitler, you could get hundreds of books on Himmler, you could get hundreds of books on Goebbels. But Erich Mielke, you probably have to look for them. And plus, they're mostly written in German. So, Erich Mielke. Okay, this is another book that I got from Berlin, which is a book written in German called Ich bin ein Berliner, which is again a book on John F. Kennedy. Now, I should have shown this with the other book on John F. Kennedy, but this is something that I really want to show you guys, because this only costs €1. Now, if you go to Berlin, I highly recommend that you go to it's called the Berlin Bunker, and here's a little pamphlet of the Berlin Bunker. It's Anhalter, I think it's called Anhalter or Anhalter Bahnhof, which stands for Anhalter train station. But it's a ruin, you know. The train station has long since disappeared, and you've just got an outline of the Anhalter Straße, or the Anhalter facade of part of the building that still stands. and behind that you've got the Berlin bunker, and it's a real bunker. It's not a it's not a replica or anything. It's a proper bunker. And it was a tip that was given to us by a girl who worked in a shop called Saturn, and it's all tech and gadgets, and you want to buy a computer or a laptop or a mobile phone, that's where you go. And it's on, I think there are 2 or 3 floors, and we just happened to go in there, and we saw this girl at the bar. So there's a bar there, because if you want to play video games, you can go up to that bar. You can get yourself a Red Bull or a Coke or something, and then they have a special room where you can go in there. It's really dark, and play computer games for as long as you want. And so we got there at the bar, and we were talking to this girl, and she said, "Oh, you need to go to the Berlin bunker." And because she used to work there, and she only worked there for 6 months. She says, yeah, you really want to go, because it's the perfect place to go if you're into the Berlin history. So we went there. My friend and John and I went there, and it was a bunker. It was really dark, and I can understand why she only stayed 6 months, because it was almost like, well, there's no windows or anything, and it looks, it's all artificial light, obviously, and they have multiple rooms, and it goes through the First World War, when Hitler came into power in 1933, and then when the Second World War started, and during the course of the war, and the Jews, of course, and the East German campaign, and and then there is like a room, so like the Hitler bunker, where they did like a recreation of what his room looked like, and it was as small, because it had always been described. If you read any of the books on the Hitler bunker, you will know how small and cramped it was. Where the furniture was like, if you wanted to get up, you had to move parts of the table, in order to stand up and walk around the room, because it was so small. And for the first time, we got to see how small his room looked like. And he had a painting of Frederick the Great, and he had his desk there, and he had a sofa and a chair and all that sort of stuff. But that room was tiny. So if you ever get to Berlin, I highly recommend that you go to see the Berlin bunker. It also had a woman who was still alive, who was 15 at the time, who actually went in that bunker as the war was coming to a close, and she said how dank and dark it was, and how packed with people it was, and every step somebody sat on the steps, so there was no room to move. So if you did, you would have to ask other people to move in order for you to say, like, having to use the toilet. And as you can imagine, the toilet wasn't working properly, it was blocked, and everybody had to go, and of course, the smell must have been just awful. And they said it was always like it felt sticky. So as they walk in, it was always sticky, and that was all like because of the excrement that was stuck on the soles of the shoes, and you could walk. And also that I think the toilets, they didn't have any doors on them, because people would close the door and commit suicide. I mean, it was awful, really, if you think about it. But clearly that bunker was overcrowded. It also, when you come out of the towards the end of the display, when you go to all the rooms and you see the history of Berlin and the Nazi era, they go into Ukraine, which I never got really, and I never quite understood it. And I have to say that a lot of what they're saying is it's nonsense. I have to say that. That's my honest opinion, because I listen to a lot of alternate media to try and find the truth as to what's occurred, and this is just what you'd probably call political correctness, or you call a narrative, where they're sticking to this particular line, this particular story as to what's going on in Ukraine. But that was the only sour point that I had of going to the Berlin bunker. And then it had an Aladdin of books. I've never seen so many. I thought I had a few books on Berlin and German history, but this is nothing like what they had. It was packed full of books that I'd never seen before, and DVDs. And of course, this was one of them, the Ich bin ein Berliner, which is another John F. Kennedy or a book when he appeared in Berlin, when he gave that famous Ich bin ein Berliner speech, which I highly recommend that you listen to. He doesn't say it in German. Obviously, he does say Ich bin ein Berliner. That's the famous the famous quote from the speech. But it's all in English. It's all in English. And the crowds there were extraordinary. I mean, so many people was there when they came to see him. The other book I got was Finding Your Feet in Berlin. That's if you ever wanted to move there, if you want to find a place there, because I can't say it's easy, because it's since been long since gentrified, and there's a lot of people wanting to go to Berlin, to live in Berlin, work in Berlin. And it's the one place where you could, or you used to, or you were able to go to Berlin relatively cheap. You could live relatively cheaply there, but I doubt it's the case now. So what would happen is that you would, if you wanted to find a place, not only would you be the person seeing a place if there was a potential flat available, but a whole load of other people would be going to the same flat as you would be. And it's only out of that group of people will they then give the keys to whoever the lucky person is in order for them to move into the flat. So this is written by an American, and John, my mate, he recommended that I should pick this book up, and again it was only €1. So and it was also in the same place in that Berlin bunker. So I highly recommend that if you ever get the opportunity to go to Berlin, you must check this Berlin bunker out, because it will tell you a lot about history and a lot about life during that time. Very important part of Berlin history. That. Now, I've come to the last. Here we go. Look at this. Look at this. I got this at the Berlin bunker. It was the last day. And I was looking at the books that they had, and of course this one stuck out. It's the Hitler itinerary from, I think, the day he was born up to the very end and beyond. And it's like, say for example, if he was to what he did on a particular day, like in the bunker, he would have tea with his secretaries at 4:00. Then it says at 5:00 he would take the dog for a walk. Then at 6:00 he would have a conference meeting with his generals. Then at 7:00 he'd go to his private room, and things like that. It was like in that detail, from sort of like hour by hour, what he did, where he was, who he was with, and so on and so forth. It's really detailed. Now, guess how much this cost? I got this for €99.99, so €100. €100. This box set is going for €400. So each book, God, it's so heavy. It's going for €100 each. I got this. This is the English version, because there's an English version and a German version, and they were having trouble selling the English version. So if you're interested, you can get it online, but I think it's going to cost a bit more if you were to order it. And of course, the postage. I mean, this is so heavy, they gave me a special bag to be able to carry it, because it was on the last day that I bought this, and I had to take it back to the hotel, and then of course, because we had to collect our luggage to go back to the airport, and it took about an hour to get there, and of course I had to carry this thing, but I was able to sort of balance it on my suitcase sort of thing, so I wouldn't have to take the weight. But looking back on it, I'm glad I did, because I doubt I get an opportunity to get something as detailed as this, because specifically for the Hitler bunker, because the Hitler bunker, and what I remember is when I was doing some sort of training, because I wanted to get my blue badge when I was in Berlin at the time, that one of the tour guides were able to talk for an hour at one particular location. And so if you're going to talk for an hour at one particular location, you better be able to talk for an hour on a particular subject. So in this case, it would be the Hitler bunker. So I'm going to have to look at everything, all the information, all the knowledge, and all the books that were written on the subject in order to be able to talk for an hour. So and then because across the way from that is like if you go to your turn right, you would go down towards Vossstrasse, which is where the Hitler Chancellor used to be. If you go left, you go towards the Jewish War Memorial, because they got the Jewish War Memorial there. And we filmed that, so there will be film of me talking at the Hitler bunker, in Vossstrasse, and at the Jewish War Memorial. So that's the my books on that I got from Berlin. Now here's a bag. It's my Berlin bag. See, another souvenir. That's what a border guard who ran across the barbed wire, because the barbed wire had just been laid down to divide East Berlin, West Berlin, and he jumps over. Now I've been at that exact spot where that photo was taken, and not only was it a photo, it was actually filmed. They actually filmed him, and they were egging him on at the western side. They were egging him on to actually go for it, to actually make a run for it. And so when he gets across the barbed wire, he drops his machine gun, and he immediately jumps into a van. There's like a police van, and another policeman picks up his machine pistol. And tragically, this guy in the 90s committed suicide. That's the sad thing about this story. We don't know why he did this, but in the late 90s, he eventually committed suicide. So it's a sad ending to an iconic photograph that you see appeared everywhere. They'll sell these on T-shirts and mugs. It's a very iconic photo, and I think this was taken in Berlinologist or Bernauer Street. So it's a very important photo of that border guard escaping to the west. Okay, I'll conclude it there. So more's to come. We don't know exactly when it will be, because John's going to be doing all the editing, and he's got to fix the distortion on the microphone. So, but at some point, I'm sure a lot of those videos that we shot in Berlin will be coming out. So, hello Stick, I hope all is well. We hope to have more content coming soon, and spoken to Shane, and he said he's going to actually do some more live streaming. So I'd like to conclude it there. So, auf Wiedersehen.